Hey guys, Mike with Gettin Greasy Garage, and got a wiring project here. It's a 1930 Model A with a 32 grill shell, small block Ford, and it has a existing wiring harness in it, but somebody didn't know what they were doing putting it in, so we're gonna pull everything out and off, go through it, check it, put everything back the way it's supposed to be. There's Brian in there taking the stereo out now, and we'll get everything. We're gonna move the fuse panel. Fuse panel is gonna go in the back corner here. We've got a battery box we're gonna put here, and get all this stuff cleaned up and done right, looking good for him. That way everything works. So I'll bring you guys along as different things are going on. Alright guys, well, got the wiring harness out. As you can see, it's laid there on the floor. This is a pretty cheap fuse box and kit. Not real impressed with quality. Nothing's labeled. Did find some spooky things like this. I don't know if it shows up real well, but wires sticking out of there that weren't crimped properly on the pins. Yeah, you can see it there. Stuff like that. It just wasn't done well. It wasn't real good quality. I've got a bunch of wire there. I've got a whole bag here of the old split loom. Took that out. What else we got? We got starter solenoid and stuff here we're eliminating because we're going to use a 96 F-150 302 starter. It's got the it's a GM style kind of, where it's got solenoid on the starter, and it's also gear reduction, so then you don't have to run all the extra wiring to the solenoids. Use the GM headlight switch and the standard ignition, so I'm gonna get a connector for those, but everything's out. And we'll start from scratch. I left the gauges in and the wiring for that. I can lay underneath the dash and look through it, but all in all, good start. I'm gonna probably gonna find another fuse box, because that one, like I say, isn't real great, and something that's labeled for him when he wants to look it up. And I'm gonna mount the fuse box right there on that panel. So yeah, that's about it for the first installment. Was just getting everything removed and looking what was here and what we need. Thought I'd give you an update on the Model A wiring project here. So got the battery box mounted in, all put together. Got the disconnect in and the circuit breaker, 100 amp circuit breaker. Ended up not putting the fuse box here for a couple of reasons. It's located up front. Got the harness installed. Here's the back part of the harness. And here we got the jumper lugs on the battery box. Take this off and show you guys what the inside looks like here. Apparently he's going to cut this out and put a piece of plexiglass in here. You can see everything is done. Okay. Okay, so here's the inside of the battery box. All handmade cables connected to these lugs to the ground. The main battery cables come up through the floor, and everything's got grommets. The battery's nice and secure. Got these really nice battery terminals on it. As you can see, this cable runs from the positive terminal down around, comes into the back side of the terminal. Use 4 gauge wire for that. So that turned out really nice. Move around over here. Show you guys where we put the fuse box. It's going to be kind of hard to see. But the fuse box is up here underneath the dash. You won't see any of this once it's all tied up. But it's on studs and bolts. That way you take a couple of nuts off and drop the whole fuse box down to working level if you had to check a fuse or test something or add a circuit. Here's all the leads or parts of the harness that go to the front. As you can see, I put them in this wiring coating, both because it's black and because it protects the wiring. So today's project is get all of these run and start connecting wires where they go. Got one bundle here. This is all gauges, stuff like that. Some of these circuits won't be used in this car. I mean, obviously there's no here. We got headlights, ignition, and steering column wiring in this bundle. So it's just pretty much down to connecting everything. I do have to figure out what we're going to do to go through the firewall right about where the tip of my finger is. So everything's coming along pretty well. Looking good. He's happy with it. Down here, that's the main positive cable that'll run up to the starter. It's just secured there, out of the way for right now. Got that to run. Excuse me. And did get the, if I can get a good shot of it, got the starter in. That's a 96 F-150 302 351 starter. Gear reduction, a lot smaller, and you can see how much room is around it. So if you're looking for a better starter than the old school Ford ones, 94 to 96 F-150 250, any of the small block Fords, they're all the same. I think the starter was like 65 bucks on Amazon. So real nice way to go. So anyway, gonna start wiring here, and I'll bring you guys back for an update. Hey guys, Mike's Gettin Greasy Garage, and yeah, got the 29 Model A hot rod all finished up and wired, and we'll walk through and show you guys what I did there and have a look. So this is a real steel 29A. It's got a dropped axle and hairpins. A small block Ford. So as you can see, you don't see any wiring. That's kind of my trademark. Did swap it out to a 96 Ford F-150 302 starter. These are gear reduction starter, so they spin a lot faster, and a lot more efficient, and a lot more smaller. So we'll start here at the headlights. I added this braided sheath to the wiring harness, ran everything back on the inside of the frame. I have 2 connectors here, right there. Yeah, right there. That's the front harness. So the whole headlight harness can be unplugged and taken out for repair or adding anything. The engine harness, I added a GM weather pack connector to it, so it's a separate harness if needed to pull the engine. Everything's just tucked away and out of sight. I use GM weather pack connectors on everything. They're my preference for a connector, and they look pretty clean. We'll go back here. This is a eBay battery box. Use one just like this in the Fairlane. Added the jump terminals for if you needed to charge it or jump another vehicle. A neat little touch that the owner added. He drilled these holes in the lid and put plexi in it so you can see the terminals and the battery. All the cables are run down through the body, through grommets. Everywhere that wires go through metal, you want to add the grommet. I always do. Added a master disconnect switch. I found this one is for heavy equipment, so it's also got a hole in the handle and a hole here so you can turn it and lock it out. Great for anti-theft. So power goes from the battery box to the master switch, and then it runs up to, I have a 100 amp breaker right here, and all the vehicle power for everything, the starter, the wiring harness, everything runs through this 100 amp breaker. Brian made up a panel out of an old piece of road sign, labeled everything. The fuel pump relay is mounted right here in the back. This turned out really clean, nice. And yeah, so added weather packs on the light harness. The light harness runs all underneath here, runs down over here. Everything's tucked away real nice. And this is the light harness here, ran it down. He made new sill plates to cover this. He's putting carpet in it currently. The fuse box is on a removable panel, so you can drop the whole fuse box down here on the floor to work on. Again, made out of an old road sign. You know, that's hot rodding. You use what you got. But all the wiring is pretty well tucked up underneath on sub harnesses. Got his gauges hooked up. Even got a cassette player. Down this side is the audio wiring and the antenna. So again, those will be covered by the new sill plates. And this side here, as you can see, you only see oil pressure, temp sending unit, stuff like that. I like to hide all the wiring. I do a nice job on the electrical and then hide it, but that's kind of my signature. Headlight wiring, turn signal wiring's all hidden. Everything is secured to the frame. Nothing's going to rub through. The wiring harness used was a harness I found on Amazon, and I will, at the end of the video, provide a link for that. You can see which one is used, because there's different. This one, I believe, was a 14 circuit, which gives you everything you need. It's got an electric fan relay built in, heat and AC, all those kind of things. Of course, this doesn't have a heater AC, but all those links that link will be at the end of the video if anybody's interested in what harness I used. The nice thing about that harness was that the wires are stamped on the wire about every 8 inches, 8 or 10 inches, what the wire goes to. So it really makes it kind of a no-brainer. as far as where to hook things up. Now, you do have to have a reasonable understanding of electrical to wire something like this. This car was a challenge in that it's so small, where to put things, where to hide things. And we got a helicopter coming over, so it's going to get a little bit noisy. America. Where is that sucker? Anyway, everything's fused. All the master power for the car runs through that 100 amp relay. Ran the battery cable for the starter up along the inside of the frame as well. Let's see if we can get down underneath here and have a look. You can kind of see it up there in that loop clamp, but everything's attached with loop clamps with insulators on them. Use rib nuts. I'm a big fan of rib nuts for mounting components. And you can see it runs right up there. This thing turned out really clean. This is a nice, well-built car. Electric fuel pump down here in the frame, which again is on its own relay in the back. 4-link in the rear. Nice little exhaust. A C4 with a 302 out of a Mustang. Traditional style rod. So yeah, with the wiring it's kind of hard to show it, and it's really boring to video it while I'm doing it. But if you have the patience, you can do a nice job and won't have any issues. The wiring that was in this car prior to my taking on this project was horrible. They had hots running to hots and grounds going to grounds, and things didn't work. You know, butt connectors and electrical tape and all of the not really good wiring stuff. If you want a vehicle dependable, you know, wiring is like anything else. The better job you do, the better it works, the longer it works. So with this thing rewired, you should have years of trouble-free service. I mean, like anything, we had a couple little bugs we've had to straighten out, but all in all, this thing starts right up really easy now. They had a 22 gauge wire going to the distributor. This has one of those HEI conversion distributors in it that work fine. A lot of people knock it, oh, a GM distributor and a Ford and all that, but hey, an HEI does work. But all in all, with the harness, battery box kit, the weather pack connector kit, heat shrink, the wire protector that I use, which is this black stuff. All told, the parts were right around 500 bucks. It doesn't really do any good to tell you how many hours I had into this, because every vehicle is unique. Every vehicle has its own electrical layout and where you can put things and components and what have you. I enjoyed this project. I met the owner of the car at Good Guys 2023 in Puyallup last year, and we finally got together and wired it. It was great because he was involved in the project. He made the panels, the mounting plate for the fuse panel, and for the master disconnect switch and relays. That's a really cool thing, is to have people involved in building their cars. I'll flip you up here, you can see the fuse box. This is it's just a GM style wiring harness. There was some problems, like he didn't have any of the diagrams for the gauges or the column or anything. So I had to kind of play with which wires go to what. Even though this was the column's wired GM style, they put different color wires in, so you have to figure all that stuff out. Same with the gauges. So if you're putting something like this together or any car, save all them diagrams that come with, you know, the instruction sheets, because when you go to wire, you're going to want them. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time online trying to figure out what wires go to what. But these Model A's are one of my personal favorite cars, so getting the opportunity to work on this one was a fun project. Albeit there were some frustrating points with this car, because again, it's a complete car that's complete together. If you're building something like this, I recommend you wire most of it before you put it together, like putting the engine in and stuff. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches trying to work in tight spaces. But if you got a little patience, it can be done. Really didn't have to take anything apart other than disassembling and removing all of the old wiring. It was made overseas stuff, and it was really horrible quality. So I pulled all that out, just started over. But no longer has to worry about things melting down, catching on fire, things not working. Got a really neat traffic light in the back. But it's a pretty cool car altogether. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions on the harness or any of the parts and pieces used, feel free to ask questions, leave comments. Really enjoyed this project, and I can't wait to see if he's going to be doing some interior work, upholstery, stuff like that, carpeting. So we'll end up doing an update video not too far down the road and see how he's come along on this thing. So anyway, guys, that's enough on this one. On to the next project. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. We're at 509 subscribers now. I never knew that people would actually want to see what I do every day, and that's a pretty special thing. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. Stay greasy, my friends.